Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just can hear you now. Is IVSA China speaking?
Okay. Yep. 唔好意思。
Thank you. IVSA Czech Republic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just can hear you now. Is IVSA China speaking?
Okay. Yep. 唔好意
IVSA
思。
Denmark. Thank you.
Undskyld mig.
IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Germany.
Hello, can you hear me?
Entschuldigung.
Yeah, I just can hear you now. Is
IVSA
IVSA China speaking?
okay.
Ghana.
Yep. 唔好
IVSA
意思。
Denmark. Thank you. Thank you.
Undskyld mig.
IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Greece. IVSA Germany.
Hello, can you hear me?
Entschuldigung.
Yeah, I just can hear you now. Is
IVSA
IVSA China
okay.
speaking? Hungary.
Yep. 唔好
IVSA
意思。
Denmark. Thank you. Thank you.
Undskyld mig.
IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Greece. IVSA Germany.
Hello, can you hear me?
Entschuldigung.
Yeah, thank you. Just can hear you now. IVSA Indonesia.
okay.
Hungary.
Yep. 唔好意
IVSA
思。
Denmark. Thank you. Thank you.
Undskyld mig.
Thank you. IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Italy. IVSA Germany.
Hello, can you hear me?
Entschuldigung.
IVSA Japan. Just can hear you now. IVSA Indonesia.
okay.
Hungary.
Yep. 唔好意
IVSA
思。
Denmark. IVSA Latvia. Thank you.
Undskyld mig.
Thank you. IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Italy. IVSA Germany. IVSA Malaysia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Entschuldigung.
IVSA Japan. Just can hear you now. IVSA
okay.
Indonesia. Ghana. Malaysia.
Yep. 唔好
IVSA
意思。
Denmark. IVSA Latvia. IVSA
Undskyld mig.
Mexico. IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Italy. IVSA Germany. IVSA Malaysia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Entschuldigung.
IVSA Japan. Just can hear you now. IVSA
okay.
Indonesia. Ghana. Malaysia.
Yep.唔好
IVSA
意思。
Denmark. IVSA Latvia. IVSA
Nepal.
Mexico. IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Italy. IVSA Germany. IVSA Malaysia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Entschuldigung.
Nigeria. IVSA Japan. Just can hear you now. IVSA
Okay.
Indonesia. Ghana. Malaysia.
Yep.
IVSA
唔好意思。
Denmark. IVSA Latvia. IVSA Mexico. IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Italy. IVSA Germany. IVSA Malaysia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Entschuldigung.
Nigeria. IVSA Japan. Just
Janeiro.
can hear you now. IVSA Indonesia. Ghana. Malaysia.
Yep.
IVSA Denmark. IVSA Latvia. IVSA Mexico. IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Italy. IVSA Germany. IVSA Malaysia. IVSA Serbia. IVSA Nigeria. IVSA Japan.
Janeiro.
Hear you now. IVSA Indonesia. Ghana. Malaysia.
Yep.
IVSA Denmark. IVSA Latvia. IVSA Mexico. IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Italy. IVSA Germany. IVSA Malaysia. IVSA Serbia. IVSA Nigeria. IVSA Japan.
Janeiro.
Hear you now. IVSA Indonesia. Ghana. Malaysia. IVSA Denmark. IVSA Latvia. IVSA Mexico.
Mawalang-galang na
IVSA
po.
IVSA Italy, IVSA Germany, IVSA Malaysia,
Tanong, Entschuldigung.
Nigeria, IVSA Japan,
Janeiro.
here you know, IVSA IVSA Taiwan, IVSA Philippines, IVSA Latvia, IVSA Mexico,
Mawalang-galang na po.
IVSA Italy, IVSA Germany, IVSA Malaysia,
Tanong, Entschuldigung.
Nigeria, IVSA Japan,
Janeiro.
here you know, IVSA Taiwan, IVSA Philippines, IVSA Latvia, IVSA Mexico,
Mawalang-galang na po.
IVSA Italy, IVSA Germany, IVSA
Tanong, Entschuldigung.
Janeiro.
Mawalang-galang na po. 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 Tanong, Entschuldigung.
Janeiro.
Mawalang-galang na po.
And this is very important to keep the tradition and to respect the national traditions and the national environments. What is going on in Eve? So I have to say we had a big achievement. So we were able to implement the competence-based veterinary education all over Europe. You can see here on the green columns the slight increase on approved or accredited V's. And starting with our membership to ENQA, this is the European Quality Assurance Organization. They are strengthening the student-based, the student-centered learning and the competence-based teaching, and we are members since 2019, and that's a rapid increase. And this was the start for implementing the competence-based veterinary education all over Europe. What's about the financing of the European veterinary institutions? So 60% predominantly is public funding, but you can see some of the countries in Europe, they are relying on tuition fees from international students to keep their balance stable. So what's the specialty of EVE? So we have our standard operation procedures based on 38 day one competences. That's the benchmark for curricula and the assessment. And you can see here, it's not just veterinary. The green ones are the veterinary, the core veterinarian skills, core clinical skills and clinical decision making, emergency care and pain management, but and scientific thinking, One Health. But it's a strong focus on communication, professional development, ethics, and of course on veterinary public health, notifiable diseases, biosecurity, and public and population health. So what we achieved within EVE is a system in strategic transformation. We shifted from knowledge transmission to competence demonstration. It's much more focused on day one readiness rather than end of study knowledge. And we established the shared European understanding of high quality competence-based veterinary education reflected in the quality of teaching and assessment while respecting national contexts and institutional characteristics. What's the size of the veterinary establishments and the student numbers? So there is in Europe a trend to larger veterinary establishments, more than 700 undergraduate students. You can see that 46% are between 700 and 1300 students, and 13%, so more than 50% are very large veterinary establishments compared to the population size. Some figures from our accreditation. So we are in the veterinary education in Europe, 11,800 full-time equivalent teachers are involved. 80% of them are veterinarians, and 30% of the veterinarians are specialists. They are training 10,500 graduates, which means that we have an average ratio 0.9 FTE academic staff per graduate, which is a very focused small group teaching environment. And then we do have some indicators on curriculum hours. That means each curriculum has to have a minimum on practical training, a minimum on core clinical training, which is CCT, and a minimum of veterinary public health training and extramural practical training on veterinary public health. And you can see all over the regions, it's a very significant harmonization is evident, but there are some regional differences, particularly in veterinary public health and food safety, food security quality. What's about the patients? So we are checking and monitoring during our accreditation procedure the amount of patients. They are introduced to the students. The focus is not the location, so we are counting intramural and supervised extramural cases. The focus is on supervision by academic staff. And many of the companion animals are still intramurally, except for region in Great Britain and Italian region. Then we have more or less equal patients. They introduced intramurally and extramurally, and for the individual ruminant and pig patients, you can see that the students are going to the farms and they are introduced to the students mainly extramurally. So our curriculum design in general is there are clinical rotations in the final study years. The duration is 10 to 14 weeks, and it's a very clear trend to early clinical exposure. Many of these are involving the students in the first year already, handling a clinical examination. It's a small group teaching format, and lots of hands-on experience and the direct feedback at the patients. And the assessments of competences is done via OSCEs, and it's a trend to logbooks and e-portfolios and workplace-based assessments. What's about the VTH, the veterinary teaching hospital training models in the organization? The backbone is a veterinary teaching hospital-based training, often completed by ambulatory clinics. This ensures a high control of supervision, caseload, and the integration of the students in research and teaching. There are some models, some distributed models. That means there is an urban case mix, because of the urban case mix limitations, the students are sent to practitioners to get the real-world practical exposure. Mainly it's a partial distributed model, that's why food animals are introduced to the students extramurally. Skills labs are now the standard across all the European Vs. Based on the core principle, never the first time on a live animal. Typically it's 6 to 10 students, and the skills lab used for structured skill acquisition, self-directed learning to get introduced to all the handling and the technical skills before they are training that on the live animals. In the recent years, as I mentioned, one of the category of the day one competence is professionalism, communication, and well-being. And there are already established communication trainings is standard across all the Vs, using simulated consultation with actors and increasingly digital and AI-supported tools. Students are trained in challenging professional situations, how to handle it and how to cope with them. Euthanasia, breaking bad news, and client conflict management. The second baseline is a longitudinal competency development. Ethics, professionalism, and communications are embedded throughout the curriculum. And currently there is a strong focus on well-being as a curricular responsibility. There are the mandatory models on resilience, time management, and mental health. In our educational day, we do have the honor that Tami is hosting our session, Students' Self-Confidence and Well-Being of Students. So thanks, Tami, that you are doing that. The IVSA, the local student representatives from Barcelona, will present the keynote lecture on that. organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. EVE is a very complicated European organization you can see here. And the
safeguard animal welfare, but also as a strategic public health investment. Given the growing threat of zoonotic outbreaks,
EVE is a very complicated European
integrated within a comprehensive One Health framework in collaboration with the WHO, strengthening early detection, surveillance, response mechanisms against emerging pandemic risks. This is a statement given from one of our delegates from IVSA Greece. And we will wait for Siddharth's question in the chat.
May I reflect on that statement? Because
yes.
The World Health Organization, so the World Organization of Animal Health, just will start an ad hoc group on day one competences in veterinary public health, and I will be the European representative because they want to define the day one competences for surveillance, early detection, and what should be the day one competence for graduates in these topics. So we working together, and I agree that the veterinary hospital infrastructure at universities should be maintained, but there may be different models because otherwise there won't run evidence-based research any longer and evidence-based training. That's why I think it should be a good mixture.
Thank you for that, Petra. Siddharth, have you written your question in the chat box? The question is there any opportunity for students outside the EVE on clinical skills, clinical decision aspect, or as a matter of fact on clinical aspect and research for students outside the European region?
So we do have students outside so we do have establishments, as I mentioned, accredited outside Europe. So, and there is a movement, and of course, the students outside, some of them, they are in student exchange programs, and then they can come to European universities depending on the corporations each V has. And it's from the other agencies, it's more and more that it will be strengthened that the clinical skills and clinical decision matters are trained before in models, and then used more trained, and it's from the other educated in the field.
All right. I think we have enough time for one last question, and that is from Dua from IVSA Morocco.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity.
Educated in the field.
From your
All right. I think we have enough time for one last question, and that is from Dua from IVSA Morocco.
Hi, thank you for the
To
opportunity.
prepare for the profession, you should learn in the early stage to take care of yourself. That's the first point. That's why we are focusing on student well-being now. And the second one is that it's always, I think veterinarians, they have a very high intrinsic motivation to become a veterinarian and to work in that field, and then you always have to prioritize that lots of things are happening. It's not your responsibility. That's why I really would like to underline that you have to take care about yourself and decide for which task is the veterinarian responsible and for which not.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for those questions. I believe I can hand over the floor to Tammy to conclude the presentation before we resume our General Assembly.
Thank you, Agnieszka. Once again, thank you so much, Petra, for joining. It's always good to hear from you. On behalf of IVSA, I'll be very glad to be in your General Assembly in May in Barcelona. To represent IVSA, always also very happy to share with IVSA Barcelona members. Thank you so much for the opportunity, for always thinking in IVSA. And I hope to see you soon, and I hope that our members can also hear from me anytime soon. Thank you, Petra.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. Bye-bye.
case you guys do have questions or would like to get to know more, their website is available online. And in case you do have more questions, you can always reach out to us and we will forward those questions to Petra and her team. I would ask the officials of Lime to share the agenda. The chair would now like to call this meeting back to order at 12:38 p.m. UTC. And the next point on agenda is, I believe, nominations for the 76th IVSA Symposium, but I'll just wait until the presentation comes up. Yes, the nominations, the next point on the agenda is the nominations for the 76th IVSA Symposium in 2028. The nominations are open. I believe nominations for the 76th IVSA Symposium, but I'll just wait until the presentation comes up. Yes, the nominations, the next point on the agenda is the nominations for the 76th IVSA Symposium in 2028. The nominations are open. I believe nominations for the 76th IVSA Symposium, but I'll just wait until the presentation comes up. Yes, the nominations, the next point on the agenda is the nominations for the 76th IVSA Symposium in 2028. The nominations are open. I believe nominations for the 76th IVSA Symposium, but I'll just wait until the presentation comes up. Yes, the nominations, the next point on the agenda is the nominations for the 76th IVSA Symposium in 2028. The nominations are open. I believe nominations committee would like to take over right now.
I will show the slides.
The next point on the agenda is on their behalf the presentation of nominees for the president position 2026-2027.
We show you her
Umar, you
slides. I
have the
don't have
floor.
them.
Did you mute yourself? Did you mute you? Thank you, Chair. Ömer Tarkdaran, IVSA Turkey. I will be the one who is doing the presentation as the in behalf of the election committee. So if you guys just wait for a second until I share my screen. Thank you.